Hello, grade 9, and welcome back. Mr. Knapman here, and we are embarking today on our very first writing task. This is an assignment called My Favorite Mistake. The very first thing you'll see here on this screen, grade 9, are just a few quotes to take a look at. One here, this red error over top of some song lyrics, I do believe, that is an artist's installation. So that's an art piece there with an error. You could think about what that means. This one down here, you're my favorite mistake. Okay, so that's kind of insinuating that somebody's reflecting on a relationship that maybe didn't go so well, but had a really positive impact or was at least impactful in that person's life. You are my favorite mistake. And then right here, your best teacher, and I don't think it means teacher like me, I think it means a life experience that you learn from. Your best teacher is your last mistake or your most recent mistake. Interesting. So here's a little bit of inspiration, I guess, wide open inspiration as far as my favorite mistake and what that means. But really, I want you to focus on that juxtaposition, which is a big word, which just means two different things right beside each other. We don't usually enjoy our mistakes. We wouldn't say that something that negative, we have a favorite. That's like saying my favorite migraine headache or my favorite upset stomach. It's called a juxtaposition because those two things right next to each other are so opposite that they don't really quite go together. So with this writing task on this Canvas page, the very first thing you will come across is a list of tasks, and then you will find this planning outline. I've created this planning outline, grade 9, to guide you through the process of pre-writing. So we're actually starting the writing process early. We'll get to that in a few slides. But with this, grade 9, if you download this or if you open it in Adobe or another editing software and you actually take the time to brainstorm in this document, your piece of writing will be so much better for it. You'll notice that I've kept the themes of the course going throughout. So our purposes, we're using express and reflect. Okay, we've been looking for it in writing. Now you're going to use it. You're going to use a few 5 senses. We're not going to put a million in there, but you're going to use a few of them based on what you've learned. And finally, you're going to take risks and try new things. That just generally means, grade 9, that you are going to push yourself to create something unique and try something that you haven't necessarily tried before. A bit of dialogue between two characters, or maybe writing something that's a bit of a suspenseful thriller piece as opposed to what you usually write. Okay, but that's up to you. Working through this outline, grade 9, and actually taking the time to work through it, you are going to submit an image of this outline at the end for your teacher to consider in your assessment for this piece. Okay, so that there, if you work through the outline, it will really help you make sure you have those details of express and reflect those 5 senses. On the second page of the outline, grade 9, it has you go through and put 5 of the 5 senses, 1 of each. We don't want to include every single one of those in the final piece. Okay, that would just be too much, and it would be overkill. So you're going to be selective, and you're not going to end up using this entire outline in your writing. You're going to use pieces of it, and it's going to help you create something with focus. The next thing you'll see on the Canvas page, again, to help us find some focus, is our purpose. So this is a slide that we've seen a few times before when we've been annotating or reading or looking for things. You're going to now use it to create something, okay? So up here at the top are 3 of our purposes. This is what the rubric is going to be created based around, and you're going to see and interact with the marking rubric on the next page when you do a bit of some peer revision. Okay, so don't think about the rubric quite yet. Everything you need to be successful is on these few pages and in the outline. So here it says for your first writing task, you will create a piece of writing that works to express about the experience and reflect upon your experience. All right, remember how on the very first day of the course of this unit, we talked about you don't have the fact that writers write what we know, but you don't have to write a story exactly as it happened. You don't have to be completely honest. You can change your name and you can make up the details, right, and be creative. You don't have to tell the story exactly as it took place when you're writing creatively. You could make it a better story, okay? But root it in a memory. Grab a memory that you have, write all the details down that you can, and if it's an exciting memory that sparks some interest within you, create your story based upon that, okay? See the indicators for success, our purpose, up at the top here, and please follow the writing process steps that are outlined for you. So your indicators for success are here. We'll go through those in just a second. Again, lots of repetition here, grade 9, but just to make sure you're successful. And then finally, the writing process will be outlined for you, not only on a couple slides from now, but also within the Google document itself. There'll be some instruction. So don't get overwhelmed. If you do, you can always talk to your teacher, schedule a meet with your teacher, or in the weekly meets or the video chats that your teacher is holding, you can ask these questions or you can ask for clarification. Okay? So your purpose, again, is to use examples of express and reflect, not just a summary of events, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. You also include the why, okay? Why did it matter? How did it make you feel? Go back and rewatch the video of annotating the monster of King's Island if you really want to understand the expression of the memories and the thoughts and the reflection on why it mattered. Okay, but you have to include both of those in your story, or you should aim to really try. That is the goal. You will use elements of 5 senses writing, no more than 2 to 3 senses to infuse imagery. If you go back and review the dentist's office, it was full of 5 senses, but that was a descriptive piece, okay? You're not writing this piece just to describe an event. You're writing it to express and reflect. So we're going to include some elements of the 5 senses. What did it smell like in that hockey rink when you first walked into it, right? What did you see when you first stepped out of your house on that morning when you had that big fight with dad, or whatever it is that you're writing about, okay? And that helps your reader connect with your story. I remember that smell, or I haven't experienced that before, but by saying it smelled like cinnamon buns, I know what cinnamon buns are, and I am now there in the story a little bit more with you. Okay, think about your audience when you're writing. Think about the stuff you like to read, right? It sinks you into the story. Finally, you are trying your best, taking risks and trying new things. This is a writer's workshop style classroom, which means our focus is on growth and identifying little areas in which we want to try something new, trying that and being reflective on how it went. So if you're trying your best, if you're taking risks and you're trying new things, even if you're not quite hitting the way that sentence should have looked, but you're trying a new sentence type, or if you didn't quite format the dialogue correctly, but you're trying some dialogue, talking between 2 characters, that gives your teacher, that gives your instructors and your teacher, I almost said me, but unfortunately I probably won't be teaching you this course, but that gives your teacher more to work with and some more personalized stuff to work on with you. Okay, so try your best, take risks, try new things, aim for 1 page, I say, but that is just my general guideline. Students always ask me, how long does this have to be? And I say, as long as you need it to be to tell a good story. Okay, don't rush it, don't cut it short. Keep the story going for as long as you need to tell that story, but don't make it too long either, because you'll lose your reader. Okay, aim for a page. If you do half a page, that's not enough to tell a story. If you're able to tell a story in 1 page that has a little beginning, middle, and end, and a moral or lesson learned, then that would be a huge accomplishment. But I think mostly we're going to end up with 1.5 to 2 page short stories. But I've had students write up to 17 pages for this assignment, and I loved every single sentence of them. Our steps. So step 1, we are going to read the example. I have a student example for you on the Canvas page. You are going to read that like a writer, with your highlighters, with your pen, annotating for strengths and areas of improvement, and you're going to learn from that example. Do I want you to write it just like that example? No, I want you to make your own piece. Step 2, you're going to brainstorm an outline. You're going to continue to work through that writing outline, the planning outline. Number 3, step 3, you're going to create a draft. So you're going to open up a Google Doc in this classroom's Google Classroom. And what you're going to do is in there, you're going to see the writing process outlined for you. And then in that document, you're going to start your rough draft. You're going to edit up your rough draft. And then you're going to come up with a polished copy. That is the end of this page on Canvas. Very next, once you're happy with your polished copy, you've gone through it once or twice and you've changed a few things around, you are going to complete on the next page a peer revision. So the teacher's going to set it up so that you swap with somebody and you revise each other's papers with guidance, don't worry. And we're going to learn a little bit on how to uplift and help each other while questioning and really getting beneath what makes our writing tick so we can start to see ourselves as writers. Then on the next page, you're going to submit your final piece. So there's a lot of moving parts to this assignment, and I don't want you to get overwhelmed. If you do, go back to the top of this Canvas page and just follow those steps. Make sure you've ticked each one off. I've spelled it out for you very clearly. So remember, on this here, our purpose, you use examples of express and reflect. Everything is in the previous pages for you, so if you're not quite sure the definition of those 2 words, go back, Go back to when we learned about this, go back to the earlier Canvas pages and really look into the definitions of express and reflect. You can look at the monster of Kings Island. You can look at your own annotation and see, really how you can take some ideas from these pieces of writing and these notes and these observations and just create something and have fun. Okay, it doesn't need to be perfect, grade 9. This isn't to go back over the definitions. This is just to show you that all of this information is back in the course for you if you need to access it. Same with this, okay? Remember, on this Our Purpose page, it says you use elements of 5 senses. Writing, try not to use more than 2 to 3. Well, a few lessons ago, we went through using our 5 senses to create imagery. So you could go back and you could review this slide. You could pause the video right now, or you could go back to your notes from that page, and you can really get back into, remind yourself of why we use the 5 senses and what that looks like. The next step you're going to complete is you're going to open and download, print ideally, but if you have a software where you can edit, you can write on or you can highlight on PDFs, that's just fine, you can use that. But you are going to read this example like a writer. This is from one of my students from this school year, 2020-2021. This is a grade 9 student who wrote this, and he decided to write his favorite mistake on a cool kind of multi-level story where the character starts off with an argument with a teacher, and it's very dramatic, and it's a good hook. We hook the reader right at the beginning and go, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? Then this main character goes back into kind of why he's feeling these feelings, and it turns into almost more of a little relationship story, tying back to the argument with the teacher at the end. So do read through this example. I know it's a bit long. You do not have to annotate or write on every single line. I just want you to make a few observations, a few ideas of strengths and areas of improvement here that you can learn from. Okay, so do read this student example. I chose it for multiple reasons. Try to figure out why I chose it. It's not just because it's fantastically written. It is. This student worked so hard on reading like a writer and really applying what he'd learned. And this is one of my, my atypical readers. I like to call my students who they weren't necessarily avid readers when they came into my classroom, but after being given time and choice and opportunities to read stuff that has interested them, much like you have right now, they are now writing for a reader. And this is one of my atypical readers, hockey player boy who did not make time to pick up books before this school year, and now he's really starting to pick up on just how much more he can learn and grow when he reads and writes every day. So please do read this example, read it like a writer with your pen and pencil, and just try to learn from it. You do not need to overwhelm yourself and spend 6 hours on it. Okay, spend a half hour, spend 45 minutes reading this example, and really just pick out a few specific elements. Finally, you are going to pop into the Google document. There'll be one made for you by your teacher in the Google Classroom for this page. And in that Google document, there will be an outline of the writing process here that you're going to follow. Basically, grade 9, I'm trying to move you away from the idea that writing is something you sit down and just pound out in an hour and move on from. That we really don't create things that are to our full potential when we're doing it quickly and without coming back to and reflecting on something creative, right? So I really want you to see, grade 9, that yes, it's a pain. And yes, I struggled with this when I was 14, 15 myself. But when we plan and then we write a draft, and then we go back and look at specific parts of that draft and really think about our own writing with our own eyes, with our peers' eyes, and with our teacher's eyes. And then we go through and edit and proofread, and we actually spend multiple days looking at the same piece of writing, which is painful for a lot of us. It becomes so much better. It becomes easier. Your writing really connects with your audience, and you can stop and zoom in. Our brains do not like to do that. So this is going to be tricky for you. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you're an expert at the writing process and you can lead our class through this process in our online meets. But let me just really quickly show you that you have already pre-written. We've already done some brainstorming. If you need to stop and do some more brainstorming, you grab a sheet of loose leaf, put some words in the center, my mistake, okay? Hockey stick to the teeth. And what you learn from it, and then start to just sketch or create. Let me just show you. This is right in front of my face. So this is just an example of brainstorming that I did myself, and it had to do with a project that you guys are going to complete in ELA 9B. So there is no right or wrong way to brainstorm. You can just start to map your ideas down on paper. And if you're not, if you wouldn't consider yourself artistic, you can just make a list on loose leaf and start to draw some lines between those ideas. But you've already begun to brainstorm with your outline, and you've already begun, excuse me, to outline and plan with your outline. Okay, so use that planning outline and complete those first two steps. In Google Classroom, in the Google document, you're going to be writing your first draft. So you're just going to start to write out the story as you would like it to appear. That might take you a couple of days. Finally, you're going to revise and refocus. These last two steps we are going to do once you've completed your first draft. We are going to do our revision and refocus, edit and proofread with appear on the next page. So write your first draft, grade 9, and then what you're going to do is just make sure that that draft is as polished as you'd like it to be before somebody else sees it. I don't say final copy or good copy or final draft because I don't believe there is one. I believe that this piece of writing could evolve for eternity if you kept revisiting it. So I'm going to say instead, write a first draft, okay, and then polish it up a little bit. Make sure that you're not missing capital letters at the start of sentences, or you're not dropping off commas or periods at the end of sentences. Okay, make sure that you don't leave any ideas half formed, and then you don't revisit them and complete the loop. Right? Start to look at things like hooking your reader at the beginning and leaving them with one of those lasting wapow punches in the gut of emotion. Don't actually punch them, but leaving them with one of those, and all was well in the world, a beautiful little message at the end of your writing. Just really start to get that draft so it's a bit more polished up, and then we will look at it with appear on the next page. Okay, so you don't have to submit it at the bottom of this page. You just need to have a polished draft ready to go to share with appear on the next page. That is all grade 9. I hope that you enjoy the process of completing your first writing task and writing your first piece for the teacher to read. Remember, this is a reflective unit. We are expressing and reflecting, and we're just writing creatively to tell a good story. So have some fun, grade 9, and enjoy the process. Thank you very much.